Hello, church. Happy Friday. I wanted to bring you a couple of updates coming into this weekend. First of all, I wanted you to know about the service of Lament that's actually coming up next weekend on Sunday evening, October 16th. This is probably a new concept for many of us, and just the concept of lament in general is something that we're not often very familiar with. It's kind of a foreign concept in our culture and many times the church as well. If we look at the last few years, I think it's fair to say that many of us have experienced grief in different forms. There's been a lot of loss, there's been a lot of struggle, and some of the forms of grief that we experience, we have ways of grieving together. When someone in your family dies, there's a funeral, there's a way of coming together in the midst of that grief. There are many other kinds of grief where we find ourselves grieving alone. And even in the church, we don't often have ways of recognizing and lamenting together certain forms of grief, and so we end up grieving alone. And one of our convictions is that we should never grieve alone, that no one should have to grieve alone if they don't want to, that we're actually called in God's Word to weep with those who weep, and to be vulnerable and to share in the pain with those who are struggling. And so we're going to be holding our first service of Lament next Sunday, October 16th at 6:30 p.m. This is actually something that we were intending to do before COVID, and then COVID hit, and so we've come back to it, and it's something that has been very important to us, and many people in our congregation have actually contributed to this service and will be helping to lead the service, so very excited about that. So I'm just saying this so that I can invite you to attend. This is open to anyone and everyone, even if you're not currently aware of any ways that you personally are grieving. This is an opportunity, as I said a moment ago, to share in the grief of others, to grieve alongside them and with them, so that they can grieve in community. And we're going to be specifically focusing on certain kinds of grief that are much more likely to go unrecognized, much more likely to lead to people grieving alone, and those are the experiences of loss from miscarriage or stillbirth or infertility or unwanted singleness. Some of these may feel odd to group together, and we're certainly not meaning to diminish any form of grief by grouping it with others, but these are all forms of grief that very much affect people in our church family, and they're forms of grief that we don't really have ways of recognizing or observing together as a church, and so that's why we're doing that. But that being said, this is open to anyone, any kind of grief that we might bring into this. That's what we're doing this for. It's an exercise in corporate lament, and so all are welcome. During the service, we're going to make space for silence and for prayer, as well as singing. I'm going to be offering a brief homily to help frame and guide us in our lamentation. And then a few other people in our community are going to be sharing their own personal experiences of grief as well. And then in addition to this, to mark our grief, we are inviting you to bring something along to the service that symbolizes or represents your grief and loss. It could be a journal, it could be a piece of art, it could be a memento, really anything, whatever makes most sense to you. And we're going to ask you to bring that, and that's going to be a part of our time together. And then at the end, you'll obviously be welcome to take it back home with you to retrieve it. The sanctuary is going to be dimly lit throughout the time, and there's going to be worship music being played during that time before the service starts. And in addition, we're going to have prayer ministers available for anyone who would like prayer during the time that we are receiving communion together. This will be a Eucharistic service. Our whole church family is invited to come and support one another, to weep with those who weep. And please feel free to invite others as well. This isn't just restricted to our church family. This is open to anyone for whom this might have meaning. And the service is, hopefully for understandable reasons, adults only. So we're not going to have childcare at the building, but please feel free to take advantage of our childcare reimbursement fund that we make available for Advent-related events. If you have any questions about this service, you can contact Meriwether Ziegler, who has been very helpful in formulating the vision for this service. She'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So that's the first thing. Second thing is an announcement for Advent Covenant members. We are, well, actually two announcements for you. First of all, we are now accepting nominations for our parish council. So this is a period of time where you can nominate anyone you believe is qualified to serve as a member of our parish council. All nominations should be sent to Angie DeGroot, who's our people's warden, no later than Friday, October 7th. So that's actually today. So this is your last day to submit those nominations, and we're excited to see who gets nominated and excited for who God might call to serve in this next term of our parish council. And then lastly, just wanted to remind you about the membership renewal process that is underway. Last Sunday, you should have received an email from our people's warden, Angie DeGroot, as I said a moment ago, and that was regarding our membership renewal process. We're launching our new process during the month of October. Like a lot of other churches that we are in contact with, we have shifted the way we do membership. We've shifted away from a system where where you become a member and then from time to time we have to actively remove people who have left the church or become inactive in other ways. So we've shifted to a system where all members periodically confirm their continued membership. Every couple of years, we all reconfirm our commitment to the church by signing the membership covenant anew. And this comes along with certain expectations of membership around attendance and service and giving. And so all of this is meant to ensure that our membership is meaningful, that those people who are members of our church have an active investment in the life of the church, that they are stakeholders in the life of the church. And so we want to make sure that membership is as meaningful as it is meant to be for the life of our church. So covenant members are required to e-sign a form on Advent Commons reaffirming their membership covenant and their desire to remain members of Church of the Advent. And as I said a moment ago, going forward, we're going to likely be doing this every year or two. So look for that if you haven't done it. Please do that if you're a member. That's all I have for you in terms of announcements, but I'm very excited about tomorrow, where we're going to have an Advent day retreat, our parish day retreat at Green Ridge Baptist Church. That's happening from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. By my latest calculations, it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow. I think that we're going to have a lot of fun outside. So very much looking forward to seeing you all. Spend some time praying for you this morning. I really hope and pray that God blesses you this weekend, and I look forward to seeing you Sunday for worship. Blessings.